Hello, everyone. This is Anna Pacheco with Santa Fe 101. And my guest today is Dawn Stixrud, and she is from Hobbs, and she's going to educate us about real estate in Lee County. And Dawn, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, thanks a lot. So, I don't know a whole lot about Hobbs. I remember this Santa Fe is my hometown. So I remember when I was back in Hobbs high school, Hobbs used to have a really good basketball team. I remember we'd always play against Hobbs and you'd always beat us. And I don't really know much about Hobbs. So, well, first of all, you're with Berkshire Hathaway. So tell us a little bit about the company, how long you've been with the company, and a little bit about yourself. And then we'll find out more about real estate in Hobbs and in Lee County.
So I've been with Berkshire Hathaway for nearly 3 years. I am the sales team leader. That means that I help train the new agents that we get. I also help run the office there in Hobbs. And Hobbs, yes, of course, they're known for their basketball, but most of all, we're known for the oil and gas industry. And we have a lot going on due to the oil and gas industry in real estate and as well in our economic basis.
Well, I know, I remember a couple years ago, I took a friend of mine, a Buddhist monk, down to Carlsbad Caverns, and I could not believe the boom down there. So is that similar? Is it called the Permian Basin? Is that what's going on? They found this huge oil source down there. Is that what that's about? Or is that the same as Carlsbad?
Yes. Hobbs is part of that Permian Basin. I am also a Permian Basin specialist for real estate. So for all of you that need housing in that area, that's who you would call. And what we're seeing is we're still seeing people moving into the area with the oil and gas industry. I know that there's been some concern that there would be some shutdowns in the oil and gas industry. There has been some layoffs, but there's also people moving in on a regular basis from places like North Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, all sorts of places.
What about international? Would you get people that work the oil and gas industry that, they work in Saudi Arabia part-time, or so? Do you get like people that move around a lot, wherever there's oil, that type of thing?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I have had several customers from places like Nigeria, even Jamaica, who are in the oil and gas industry, and they come here. We also have people who are from Denmark and other European countries who come down here because in addition to the oil and gas industry, we also have a nuclear industry. And that is with Urenco, which is located in Eunice, New Mexico, also in Lee County. And we have several people who come to work there as well.
And what type of what are they working on there? I know here, I'm here in Santa Fe. I'm 30 miles from Los Alamos, where they do all that. They make atomic bombs, and in addition to other things. But what type of nuclear industry is located down in your area?
So it's different. It is not as radioactive, and they basically take some of the waste and pull out whatever is left that is radioactive there in the uranium, and then they go ahead and they sell that to other places.
Interesting, because I know in Carlsbad, I know that from Los Alamos, they take nuclear waste down to the Carlsbad area, and there's a place where they bury it or something. I've heard about that.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the WIP site. And that's a national site, a national storage area for radioactive waste.
Okay. In terms of real estate, I know, again, I'm just going to go, I don't know a lot about Carlsbad, and I've yet to interview a Carlsbad realtor, but I remember just going down there and I had read that it's just they couldn't build houses fast enough. Are you having a housing shortage, or are you able to build enough housing for the people moving in right now?
We do have a housing shortage, and so it's called a seller's market right now because of that. And we have more buyers than we do homes. We do have several new builders in the area, That is helping some. We also have had several new apartment complexes go up as well.
Okay. So what is the median cost of a home right now?
So I would say to get a home that is updated, that you don't need to do a lot of repairs to, you would need to probably come in the $220,000 to $250,000 range.
Okay, well, that still is very economical in comparison to Santa Fe real estate. So tell me a little bit more about, so that you basically maybe about 230,000, but do you have like high-end housing as well? And tell me a little bit about the market.
Yes, we have high-end housing. We have houses that are in the $500,000 range. Many of those, of course, are going to be owned by people coming from other areas that find our area very affordable. We have people coming in from California trying to make purchases here. They're trying to make income producing purchases so that they are buying things like duplexes and fourplexes and things of that nature. Then we also have people in the oil and gas industry that are able to afford these high-end homes. Most of our high-end homes are custom built. We do have a new builder in the area. She's from Albuquerque. Her name's Marie. So we have Homes by Marie that just recently came in.
Interesting, a woman builder. I like that.
Yes, me too. It's awesome.
Oh, good. And do you have a lot of people from Texas moving in? Because I know you're not too far from Texas. How far are you from the Texas border?
Maybe, oh goodness, Hobbs is maybe 2 miles from the Texas border.
Wow. So
right on the border.
So there's a lot of back and forth.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, especially right now, during some of the COVID restrictions, many of the people in the Hobbs area are traveling back and forth across the state line to go to Walmart.
Okay. And if I'm not
easier
mistaken,
to get into the small Walmart.
I'm sorry?
It's easier to get into the smaller Walmart here in Texas than it is over in Hobbs.
Okay. And so your children, you live in Texas or you live in Hobbs?
I actually live in Texas.
You live in Texas, but you're licensed to sell real estate in Hobbs.
Yes, ma'am, I am. And we lived in the Hobbs area for a while. My husband was with Urenco, and then he changed and ended up being in the oil and gas industry, and his job takes him to Texas. So that's why we moved to Texas.
Okay. And then you talked about there's like new apartment buildings have come up, because again, that was a problem I saw in Carlsbad, that they all the hotels, like the reason I know this is because I couldn't get a hotel room, and it was because of workers are living in all the hotels because there weren't enough apartment buildings available. That may have changed because again, that was maybe 2 years ago. But in your area, they have built new apartment buildings to help people coming in.
Yes, ma'am, they have. We have had, goodness, I would say close to maybe 100 new apartments come in.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit, again, I haven't been to, I know I've been to, I went to Lovington years ago to see my son play basketball, no, rather football there. But so in your pocket of New Mexico, I'm not real familiar with it. So if somebody is watching this video, tell me, do you see a lot of like, the oil rigs and just tell me about the terrain there. What does it look like?
Flat.
It is flat. There aren't mountains there.
Flat. No mountains. We have pretty aggressive windstorms, and you may even experience a brownout during that time.
And that just means just like a ton of dust is coming through and everything.
Yes.
Okay, there. Okay.
Because the wind will exceed about 70 miles an hour, and there's no trees, no mountains, no hills to stop it. There are no natural water features. It's a lot of sand and mesquite.
And are the oil fields visible like in the city area, or do you have to drive away are you away from that, or what would people be looking at if they live there?
If you were living in Hobbs, you would not visibly see any of the oil and gas industry at work. You would need to drive a little further south, and then you would start to see what we call pump jacks, and you would see them at work. They are tall metal things that kind of, my son says that they look like dinosaur heads going up and down.
That's a good one. I was gonna say kind of like crickets or something. I've seen them before. Yeah,
Yes.
like that dinosaur heads. And then, so I'm assuming if somebody wanted to move here, I mean, I know that here in Santa Fe, people are working remotely because there aren't a ton of jobs here, although we are the state capital. There just aren't a lot of jobs. So many people that are choosing to move here, you mentioned California, they are, they're able to work remotely. Are you seeing remote workers coming down to your area, or are they primarily coming for the oil and gas industry?
I would say primarily for the oil and gas industry, but we do have a small influx of the remote worker. Those would be my California transplants coming in. They're able to just connect through Zoom meets or do whatever's necessary through a remote means.
And why are they choosing to live in Hobbs where there are, there aren't mountains and there are dust storms? Why would they choose to move there? Is one of the spouses or somebody working in the oil and gas industry, or is real estate economical in the sense that it's just a more of a bargain to buy out there?
I think it's more of a bargain. I also think that it's sort of a draw that we're kind of the Wild West out here, kind of the last frontier, if you will. We are kind of close to Mexico. Some people oftentimes have relatives that live in Mexico.
What is the closest border town to you?
I would say probably it would be El Paso.
Okay. Okay, so you're not far from El Paso. And then in terms of somebody's moving, would want to move to your area, are there economic opportunities? I mean, maybe like like kind of spurs of the oil and gas industry. Are there other companies that feed into that where people might be able to find a job there?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, we have Urenco.
Okay.
It's the whip site in Carlsbad. There are many people, because of the lack of housing in Carlsbad, that go ahead and live in the Hobbs area and commute daily to the Carlsbad whip site.
And how far is Carlsbad?
The whip site is I think it's almost a 45-minute to an hour commute.
Okay, and you said you lived in Texas. What community in Texas are you in?
I live in Seminole, Texas. We're just across the border from Hobbs, New Mexico.
Okay, and why did you move from Hobbs to Texas?
Because of my husband's job and his affiliation with the oil and gas industry.
Okay, and then in terms of schooling, I think you have children. That's why we're doing our interview a little bit early because you have to pick up your children. They go to school in Texas. Or they go to school in Hobbs.
They go to school in Texas, and Texas is open for school currently during this COVID season. So that's kind of nice. They do have a lot of things in place to protect the children. And my son is 13, and I think it's been a great opportunity for him to be there in school. He plays the saxophone, he plays on the tennis team. It's given him opportunities that he wouldn't otherwise have if he were doing his school remotely.
Right, that makes sense. And then in terms of you're actually on the central time zone then. And so if somebody, is that correct? You are in central New Mexico, central time zone. So if somebody was working in Hobbs, but they lived in Texas, such as you're gonna lose or gain an hour each way. Is that just like over a 2-mile border? Is that how it works?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so when you sell real estate, basically you're saying that there's a shortage right now. What is the inventory currently in Hobbs?
This morning, in homes between 150 to 250, there were 30
Okay.
homes available. which is not much. I currently, personally, as a realtor, I currently am working with 20 buyers. So, and that's just one of us, and there's over 90 realtors in Lee County.
And
So,
so how are realtors doing financially then? If there's, this sounds like there's a lot more realtors than there are houses available. How is that working out for you folks?
I think it kind of depends on how well established that realtor was before we went into this seller's market. I know that personally I'm doing well. I'm still a multi-million-dollar producer. I'm doing okay. But what happens when we're talking about the lack of properties for sale is we look at things called a multiple offer situation. So for most properties, there's always going to be multiple offers. And so that means that it drives up the price of the property for the seller. So it's a good time for the seller to determine whether or not they want their home on the market.
Yeah, that's happening here in Santa Fe. I had a friend who sold a house in 24 hours. She sold her house at $12,000 more than the asking price. So that's what's going on. So when you're saying you have 20 clients right now that are looking, how are you, I mean, are they all looking at how are you able to help them all? If there aren't enough, if there's only 30 houses on the market and you have 20 different clients, I'm sure that they're not all going to fit into those 30 houses. How does that work? How are you able to service 20 different clients with such a shortage of housing right now?
Well, so what we do is we just look at the homes that are available. So obviously it keeps me very busy, keeps me hopping from one customer to the next, from one property to the next. And they have to know going into it that it is a seller's market and that they need to bring their best offer to the table. So the buyer that has the best offer is the one who's going to get the home, and the other buyer who does not have the best offer is going to need to wait until we have a greater inventory.
And I know we're in the, we're right in the beginning of winter now. So this tends to be a slower time for most realtors. Is that correct? Is that true for you down there as well?
Historically it is, but this year, who knows? I know for myself recently, I just had 5 go under contract, which is kind of uncommon in December.
Right. And are you showing houses virtually now like they are here in Santa Fe, or are you people able to do, are you able to show houses in person out down there?
So it's dependent, of course, on the seller and what their comfort levels are. Personally, with my sellers, I make YouTube videos that when somebody calls and inquires about the home, I can just send them the YouTube showing, if you will, of the home. Other realtors choose to do other things. A Matterport video is very common, which kind of comes in and outlines the entire home and shows you the kind of the floor plan or the footprint of the home.
Okay. And then I meant to ask this earlier, but before, because we're getting closer to the end of the interview, what about ranches and rural properties? Do you have a lot of that in Lee County?
We have some, but those are our properties that are selling the quickest. Those are people who are concerned about the economic changes in the area that the oil and gas industry may bring. And those are people who want to make sure that they have land available to grow a garden or have a cow or whatnot. And so those properties are hot and hard to keep around. So.
And what do they average in terms of acreage usually? Like 20,000 acres, 10,000 acres, 1,000 acres?
Well, the ranches are going to probably what we call like a small farm or a hobby farm is going to start at about 10 acres.
Okay. And what would be a guesstimate? What would something like that cost if somebody was looking at a ranch property for about 10 acres?
Well, there's one actually right now in Monument that has 30 acres, and it's for about 250,000.
Yeah, sounds a lot better than the real estate prices up here in Santa Fe. So we're coming to the end of our interview. Is there anything that you want to definitely mention if somebody's watching this video and they might be considering Lee County? Is there any words of advice that you'd like to part with?
I just want everybody to know that the people in Lee County are very, very friendly, very helpful. We moved here from Tennessee, and prior to that, my husband and I were born and raised in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. And the people down here are amazing. We make up with our people what we lack in mountains.
I like that.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Good. Well, listen, Donna, I want to thank you again, and I'll have this posted on the website very soon. I do thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Have a good day.
Thank you.